Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Women Are Worthy Network. I'm your hostess with the mostest. Look, first of all, I want to wish everyone a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. I don't know what time you're watching us, but again, let me do some housekeeping as well. If you want to join our tribe, you must subscribe. I came up with that, y'all. If you want to join our tribe, you must subscribe. So, I was writing a blog about second chances. And I always want to talk about that we have to give people, we have to grant them some compassion. We have to show empathy. So basically, there's this, before I introduce our guests, I just want to remind everyone, you never know what anyone's going through. So you just have to show compassion, right? So without further ado, today's show, it's called From Prison Nights to Theater Lights with Mr. Dominique Leonard. Now, I would love to say this was my idea, but that was his. So I'm going to give him his props, and this is all his, right? So, A Future Beyond Bars. After years of perseverance, Mr. Leonard, he finally had the opportunity to present his case for parole. Now, I want y'all to hear his story. This man has an amazing story where so many people would have given up. He went to prison. And when I tell you the things that he did was just amazing. So the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because I want people to understand, don't give up. Many may give up on you. Never give up on yourself. That's the bottom line. As long as you have God, do not give up on yourself. So when I tell you this man's intro is amazing, y'all can read it. Y'all know what it's all about. I want y'all to just take the opportunity, and we want to honor Mr. Dominique Leonard for being on our platform. Hello, Mr. Leonard. How are you?
Thank you, Jacqueline, actually for having me on this show. It's an honor to be on this show. It's an honor to share my testimony with your guests and your people who subscribe to your channel. So actually, it's a blessing. Good morning, everybody. I don't know where everybody's chiming in from. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. But again, thank you for having me on the show.
This road for redemption is amazing. Hi, Paula. How are you? I want you to tell your story, because I'm going to be honest. When I read your story, it brought tears to my eyes. And I want to thank your mother. You know what I'm saying? Because that woman was something else. So, and is, So let's talk about your story. And look, okay, let me give you some props. Yo, you cut some hair. You can line folks up real good.
Yeah. So,
Okay, let's hear your story.
I'll start with my story in the brief. First of all, I come from a praying background. My grandmother and my mom was praying women. And I would tell any man that it's very important to have a woman somewhere in your life who knows how to pray, because they're going to cover you when we can't even cover ourselves. And so my mom and my grandmother covered me, not knowing what my future held. So going into my future and as I'm getting older, I got myself in some trouble. And I can be blunt, and I can be honest right now. I had a robbery charge. It was a bank robbery charge, walking into a bank with a note, a non-aggravated charge. And that's what created this whole world of what I'm doing today. So there is beauty sometimes in an ugly situation. There is beauty after the ashes. But it's all because of God and what God has done in my life. So I had a bank robbery charge, walking into a bank with a note. Um, anyway, got caught with the situation of getting turned in by my cousin who turned me in. End up taking the case to trial, because see what happens anytime there's a robbery charge, a murder charge, or a rape charge, or any kind of trafficking charge with children or something like that. If anything matches that MO, they bring other charges against you because they have unsolved crimes, right? So like if somebody got murdered and they got shot a certain kind of way.
Unalive.
Okay, yeah. Something happened. Then what happens, that anything that kind of matches that MO, it falls into the category of open cases. So actually they put other open cases on me. And that's why I took it to trial. And going to trial wasn't my best bet, but I had to go to trial because these other charges weren't my charges. But the jury heard what they wanted to hear, and I guess gave me some of them charges as well, even though it didn't fit who I was. And I know what I did. I'm guilty of mine. So anyway, I ended up getting a life sentence. Um,
Wait.
Go ahead.
Forgive me.
Hmm.
For bank robbery,
Hmm.
they gave you life.
Yes. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't unalive anyone, but they
No.
gave you life.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All
Yes.
right.
Yes. And so here's the ticket about it, right? They didn't know who I was. They just thought I was this black man running around Houston, Texas, committing crimes, and that wasn't the case. I committed this one crime, but again, they put all these other cases on you. And they didn't get a chance to see that I was a business owner. I had beauty shops in Houston. They didn't see the point of everything I'd done for the community. I gave it all to my lawyer. Hey man, this is what I do. I know this is what I did. But this is what I do. So they gave me life. Then I didn't really understand what life was. I didn't understand how you do life. I didn't understand any of that. When I got to the county jail, I did have a moment of saying, man, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm a father of four. I'm a business owner. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I had over like 20 employees, stuff like that. But it's like I'm thinking like, I can't do this time. I can't do life. So I had the thought. I had an inclination. I had a quick moment saying, I don't want to be here no more. I just killed myself. And so I ended up calling my mom over the phone. And I said, Mom, I can't do this. I can't do life. And I probably only been in the county after this sentence, maybe like about maybe a month or maybe 2 months. As I was getting ready to do my time. And my mom woke me up with something. I said, Mom, I can't do this. She says, so what are you gonna do? I said, Mom, I'm thinking about
Unalive. Remember,
yeah.
got to use the word
I said,
unalive.
Mom, I'm thinking about taking my stuff
Mhm.
out of here. She says, son, go ahead. Because the world's gonna go on anyway without you. It's gonna go on without you. She said, your kids are gonna grow up without you. Life's gonna go on without you. Your ex-wife's gonna get married again without you. At that moment, I realized that wasn't the best idea because life's gonna go on without me.
Right.
And my mom just encouraged me, like, go ahead. And so I came to myself and I came to God and I said, okay, let me settle myself down. I ended up calling my cousin. He said, hey, bro, you good? He said, you'll see parole in about 5, maybe 6 years because it's not aggravated. I said, oh, what? He said, yeah. He said, I said, no, I got life. He said, no, it's a non-aggravated life, cuz. I said, okay, because I didn't understand the system.
Right.
So that kind of calmed me down some more. I took all my losses. I got my divorce papers in the mail. I signed those. I just did everything I had to do to get myself mentally ready for this journey. And as I
So
was,
did your wife ask for the divorce, or you figured like, look, I'm gonna be here for a while. Let me have you go live your life, and I'll figure out how I'm gonna do this new life.
so we was already separated anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we was already separated. Just that when you get incarcerated, you want somebody to hang on to kind of give you a crutch a shoulder to lean on. And so she asked for it, and she said, "Hey, I have 2 children by you. I need to go on with my life." And I didn't really fight it. I didn't really contest it. I maybe said 2 things. Hey, man, wait for me. I'm coming home. I mean, God's gonna bless me again. Just hold on. And she didn't want to, so I said, okay, I have to release you too then because I have a journey to go on right now. I don't know what the journey is gonna look like, but I have a journey to go on. But this whole time that I was incarcerated, God wouldn't allow me to forget my name. He wouldn't allow me to forget who I was. And so I'm on this journey in this thing called life. And I could fast forward because I'm in prison. I don't get in any trouble. I don't get into any fights. I mean, God really protected me this whole time when I was away. It went up with the grace of God, favor from the guards, the best jobs, the best housing, everything. And then I had my support from my family, support for some friends, stuff like that, who rode with me during this whole time. We hired a parole attorney, because now, it's 6 years down the line now. And I went from 32. I went from 34 to 40. So now I'm 40 years old now. I'm in prison. I'm steady writing. I'm steady writing my plans and my dreams down. I'm steady writing because you got to realize I went in as a grown man at 34, where most people go in as
Hmm.
kids or early 20s and stuff like that, and they never had a life, and they never had responsibility. Okay. Because I went in at 34, I didn't go in lost. I didn't have to go in, try to, join up, join anybody or anything like that. I went in as a grown man with responsibility, knowing what life is, knowing what bills is, knowing what, having, houses and cars. I, I knew these things. So I didn't go in lost. And I thank God for that because it made me go in stronger. And so now here I am. I'm still writing my plans down, what I want to do, you know, um, everything I want to do when I get home. I'm writing them down. I'm writing my plays because, I've always been a writer. So I'm writing my plays down, all my ideas down. So we come up with parole the first time. After 6.5 years, I see parole. And the parole board gave me a 2-year set off. And so my attorney came to see me and she said, well, they thought you didn't do enough time in the system. I said, I did 6.5 years. She goes, no, you did 4 years in prison, 2 years in the county. They want you to have all your time
In the
in
prison.
prison. And I couldn't understand that. I'm like, but I was incarcerated the whole time. She said, yeah, but you was incarcerated in the county. Then you got to sign the TDCJ, which is Texas Department of Criminal Justice. So I said, okay. So they gave me a 2-year set off. So we end up firing my parole attorney because I felt like she wasn't really working for me. I didn't know what she was doing. And I kind of had an argument with my mom. I said, Mom, we have to let her go. No, son, no. I said, Mom, I've been praying. And I think I have a vision of what the parole board wants to see. Because right now I'm just a number. And I don't know what she presented to them. But she don't have the information that I have of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we end up getting transferred. I got transferred from that unit I was on a hardship. A hardship means that your family can get you moved for medical reasons closer to home.
Okay.
So my dad did a hardship for me that moved me closer to Houston, Texas, in another region as well, which is Huntsville, Texas. And Huntsville is where all the major parole boards are at. So I ended up going to Huntsville, the Ellis unit. I ended up going to Ellis unit, and there they made me an outside trustee. And I'm like, man, look at God. Outside trustee with a life sentence is kind of unheard of,
Mm-hmm.
But again, I have to keep reminding myself it's not ag life sentence because you can't go outside with different kind of cases,
Right.
and stuff. Yeah. So I was unsupervised. I'm unsupervised the whole time. So I get there, and now I'm working on this package, that God gave me the vision to do for myself to get released. Because I got a 2-year set off, right? And so I got that in 14. So I do my 2 years in 16. 2016 come around, and now it's time to see parole again. This time I'm more comfortable, I'm more qualified. I feel like I'm more prepared for parole. I create this package all from the idea what God told me to do. I was sending stuff home to my family. They would make copies and send it back to me. I would send pictures home. They make copies and send it back to me. I send letters home, stuff that I did before I got incarcerated. They'll send it back to me. Because again, as you mentioned earlier, yes, I'm a barber. And being a barber, I was the barber to a lot of celebrities in Houston, a lot. And so for a while, I was known as a celebrity barber. And so I had a lot of them pictures sent back to me as well, of these clients coming to my shop from the NBA, the NFL, some major playwrights, stuff like that. And so I create this package and I get it to the parole board. I see parole March 2016. And normally it takes about 4 to 6 weeks to get an answer back. So I see parole March 2016. Now April passes, May passes. I don't hear anything. June comes, my mom comes visit me in prison. And she said, son, I got a call from the parole board. I said, okay. And she said, somebody by the name of Tony Garcia, the commissioner of Huntsville, wants to come see you in person. He got your package. And I'm like, okay. So I went back into the unit, told all the guys what was going on. They're like, bro, you going home. Man, he don't come see nobody. And I said, well, no. Because, I had to keep
Right.
myself kind of down, because I didn't want to get too excited. Because again, I done did 8 years now. So June passes, July passes, August passes, September passes, October passes. Still no answer from parole. So now I'm kind of feeling like what's really going on. November comes around and I get this lay-in that says parole lay-in Tony Garcia. I'm nervous. I'm like, man, this thing's really finna happen. So I prayed that night, and the next day I go to this parole hearing, and I walk in, and it's like a little small, like a little room. It's a desk in the middle. He's sitting on one side, tell me to sit down on the other side. So I sit down, and I sit down. First thing he have in front of me is my package, and he says, I've been doing this for a very, very long time. He said, I've never seen somebody get this much time for this kind of crime? He said, it's overkill. I said, yes, sir. So he talked about the time I've been in prison, what I've been doing, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, your package that I have doesn't fit the man I see in front of me. Well, so basically the criminal folder he had, he was saying, didn't
Right.
fit the man he see in front of him. But he got my package though. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And he
Mm-hmm.
said, so you have a lot of time on your shoulders. I said, yes, sir. This moment right here I'm about to say really touched my heart and it made me cry. He said, so when you get home, what are you gonna do with this time? I said, we're gonna hire a lawyer to get his time back. But before I
Mm-hmm.
can even get all my words out, I'm already crying because he told me, when you get home, what you gonna do with this time? And I said, okay, God, I'm going home. So he said, so we talked some more a little bit. And then he said, okay, you'll have your answer in about a week. Like that. I said, yes, sir. Well, he came to see me like on a Wednesday. I called home Friday. My mom, all my family was on the phone. I called them. They was yelling, you coming home? You coming home? You got an L51. L51 is the earliest release you can get out. Meaning like you got to leave within 30 days. So that's like the highest, the highest
Right.
level of parole. So I got an L51 and I left in like 18 days. And let me show you how good God is. Let me show you how this thing works when you're walking the right walk and you have to do what you have to do with the right way. So I want to encourage everybody to hear these words right here. When you're
Mm-hmm.
walking with God and you're walking the right way and you're doing exactly what you have to do, God can turn an ugly situation around and make it work in your favor. It don't matter about the bills you got to pay. It don't matter about who left you. It don't matter who's hurting you, who's talking about you. It don't matter who cheated on you. It don't matter who took from you. God can turn everything around in your favor and give it all back tenfold. So now I come home after 8.5 years of prison and I go see my parole officer. The first day I walk in, I sit down. So now I'm finna understand what my supervision is, right? I don't know what it's gonna be. Because most time guys come on, they gotta put a monitor on, they gotta be supervised, can't leave the house from this time to this. I mean, it's all kind of stipulations. So I sit in front of my parole officer and she said, all right, Mr. Leonard. She goes, okay, I got your folder. Only thing you have to do right here, I see, is take a after release class. It was only like 1 day a week for like 30 days. I said, okay. She said, you can go on Wednesday. And then she goes, okay, then after that, I'll see you again in June. I said, June? She goes, yeah, in June. Because most of them you report every single week, or every month. June was 6 months, down the line. I said, okay. What kind of level am I on? She said, you're on the lowest level supervision right now, sir. I said, what does that mean? She said, we really have to supervise you. Listen,
That's
y'all don't
God.
hear me. Y'all don't
That's
hear me.
That's why I want you to tell your story because
Yeah.
right now, since what's been going on in the world, people seem hopeless. Because
Hmm.
sometimes, either they're drowning in bills,
Hmm.
significant other has left, cheated,
Hmm.
kids, whatever,
Hmm.
job, loss of a job. Sometimes I so believe you have to go through something. You have to go through something in order to come on the other side, right?
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
hear your story, this is true redemption. This
Yeah.
is just proves that God is real. And I know
Hmm.
people who are watching know God's real, but sometimes you want them to hear it. Because when
Hmm.
you're walking by yourself, Dominique, and
Hmm.
you know this, you're walking by yourself, you're like, okay, you're looking for other people because sometimes you can't expect your cheerleaders to help you. Sometimes your
Hmm.
mate can't walk down with you, your mama, your sister. You got to do it by yourself. And it could be lonely.
Hmm.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That walk could
Yeah.
be lonely.
Yeah.
And you hear that devil talking to you in your ear and
Hmm.
questioning you, and you're like, oh my God, because you want to do the other thing, but God is
Yeah.
telling you, keep walking. Because why? Not only are you going to come through it, you're here to provide a testimony. Because as they
Yeah.
say, your test is your testimony.
Yeah.
So so when you get released, okay, when you
Hmm.
get released,
Hmm.
what is the first thing you wanted to do?
So the first thing I wanted to do when I got released, I wanted a pizza. I wanted a pizza, and this is gonna sound very, very funny, but the next thing I wanted to do. The next thing I wanted to do, I wanted to just walk through Walmart. I
A
wanted to
free
just walk
man,
through
a
Walmart.
free
Yeah.
man.
I wanted to
Mhm.
walk through Walmart. I wanted to walk through Walmart and just pick up stuff that I wanted. And so I got my pizza first. Then the next day, I wanted to just walk through Walmart. And I remember because I was actually dating somebody when I got released, but I remember that I had called a Uber to the class she told me I had to take. And so I called an Uber to that class, right? And the woman that I was dating said, "Hey, catch the Uber back home." I said, "That's cool." I end up going to that class, right? After that class, there's a main street in Houston, Texas called Westheimer. It's a long strip with all the, it's just a busy street, right? It's almost like a New York strip, kind of like in New York, with all the big buildings and everything. So Westheimer is kind of like that, just a long street. I left my class, walked 1 block up to Westheimer, and I just wanted to walk down Westheimer as a free man. And sometimes people have the thoughts of, man, who's looking at me while I'm walking? Who's judging me? I want to walk down Westheimer, and my mind saying to myself, like, y'all don't even know what I've been through. It feels good to walk down Westheimer. It feels good just to walk. And so those are my moments of self-freedom from what God has done.
So how did you, because I'm so curious to understand this.
Okay.
How did you remain or keep your peace while you were in prison? Because you have to go to bed when they want you to go to bed. You
hmm
want to avoid the gangs. You want to avoid
hmm
this. You want to avoid that. So it's kind of maneuvering. Because I tell people, when you come out of jail, you get yourself together. You can
Yeah.
work in corporate America. You can run your own business because
Yeah.
you're maneuvering and going through a lot. So how did you? And the reason I'm asking you, sometimes when we're in the midst of chaos,
hmm
we have to understand we still have to walk in peace. We
Yeah.
have to still
Yeah.
be peaceful. So how did you
Yes. Yes.
remain peaceful in this chaotic new world that you didn't know anything about?
Well, I think the main thing that kept me peaceful, as I said earlier, I think the main thing was I went in at 34. I went in a grown man. But on top of that, I know God played a major part, but God's only gonna do so much. The rest got to be
Mhm,
on you because
mhm,
God is over here, but physically you're right here. You're in the situation. So when I got to prison, I remember going to this one unit, and this is a funny story, but it's the truth. Um, I got to this one prison. When you go in there, like I said, I don't have any homeboys and people that who I know in prison, so I ain't know nobody in prison. And I'm going to this unknown, charted world, which I mean, you're sitting around everybody. You're sitting around every single body for every kind of crime. And sitting
right.
next to you, yeah, some stuff you don't see on TV. Oh my God, that's him. You know. And so I remember going to this one prison, and I went into the day room where you watch TV, you sit down, watch TV, stuff like that. And so I went to this one prison, and I'm in the day room, and but it's all about keeping your peace. And I'm in the day room, and this guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, man," he said, "What they call you, bro?" Because I noticed everybody in prison had a different kind of nickname. And so I said, "Well, call me D boy." He said, all right, D boy, man, I'm so and so. I said, well, hey, what's up, man? So we went to talking with him and be, and I was watching the game. I was watching the football game because I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Mm.
So yeah, so I'm watching the game, and then I noticed the day room kind of get empty a little bit, and then I hear somebody yelling, "Look out, D boy, D boy!" But I'm going to the game. I didn't realize he's calling my name, right? And so I heard about 3 more times, D boy, look out, D boy. I mean, he gets yelling, man. And I'm just like, who this dude yelling at like that? So he comes back in the day room. He says, "Hey, man." I say, "What's up?" He said, "You D boy?" I said, "Yeah, yeah." He said, "Hey, man, it's time to eat, bro." I said, "Oh, all right." So I got up. I took about 4 steps. And I said, "You know what, man? Don't call me D boy." I said, "Just call me Dominique, bro." I said, "Call me Dominique." He said, "All right." So I have to remember my name. I couldn't forget my name. So a lot of times what happens when we go through trials and tribulations, we forget our names and we forget who we are and we forget where God took us and brought us from. And so sometimes like we get caught up with our debt, our bills, our credit card relationships, our jobs, letting us go unemployed, car not working. I mean, all kinds, and we just forget who we are. So I had to stay in my peace with knowing who I was the whole time I was in prison. I knew who I was. And I remember one guard told me, he said, "Listen, you walk around like you're all that. You need to humble yourself."
Mm.
I looked at him. I says, "No, that's what y'all want us to do. Y'all want us to start forgetting who we are as men." I said, "The crime I committed, that's something that I did, but that ain't who I am." You know? So I kept my peace. So I had a lot of different strategies to keep my peace, and writing was my peace. Writing my plans down was my peace. Because we have so much time on our hands. Just not being incarcerated. People in the free world, when you got time on your hand, write down your plan and you'll be surprised when you write them plans down. you'll be surprised when you go back and look at them a year later, everything you accomplished.
Okay, so I go to this worship center,
Mm-hmm.
and every November they tell
Mm-hmm.
us to think about some things that we want for the following year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in December, they give us, so we have to come back, let's say, right couple of, right before Christmas, the Sunday right
Mm-hmm.
before Christmas. We're supposed to write it down.
Yeah.
When we
Mm-hmm.
write it down, we all have to have these papers. They give us an envelope,
Mm-hmm.
two envelopes, right?
Mm-hmm.
One goes to them, and what happens is when it goes to them, they open up the letters, and they
Mm-hmm.
read the letters, and they pray over the letters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big church. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. They then put the letter back into the envelope and mail it back to you the
Mm-hmm.
following year.
Mm-hmm.
So what you're supposed to do, right? So now when you get the letter back, it's things that you want to do. It's like a manifestation, things you want to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll tell you, like, write 10 things down. And I write the 10 things down. 8 of the 10. First, it was 3 of the 10, 6 of the 10, 7 of the 10. People don't understand how critical that is.
Yes.
You
Yes.
have to write down what you want. Whether you
Yes.
want to call it manifestation,
Yes.
whether you want to call it, your model for your business, you have
Yes.
to write. It is so critical
You
because I've
have to
seen
write
it.
down.
I would get my letter back, and I mean stuff that I wanted. I'm like, wait a minute. So you get it back, and then, excuse me, you do it in January. So December 31st, they mail it back to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when
Mm-hmm.
you're opening it, you're like, wait a minute, I accomplished this, I accomplished this, I accomplished this. And then what I don't accomplish, I put it on the following year, and then I
Yes.
add, additional people. I'm telling you, it works.
It
I,
works.
I was telling one of my clients, and they said, that's time consuming. I said, how is that time consuming? You're sitting down watching television. You're watching people who are getting paid, right? And you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to that level, not necessarily being an actor or an actress, but you want to make that money. It's
Yes.
critical, and it's also critical for you to hang around like-minded people.
People.
They
Yes.
say if you're the smartest one in the room, go into another room,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And also find someone who's gone through something, or someone you want to be. Like, hey, I want to be at that level. You hang out with folks like that. The fact that you've maintained that peace. So do you think being discharged or leaving the prison system, did you have any form of trauma? And when I mean trauma, I don't mean stuff meaning you were mentally enslaved, right? But
Yes.
mom talks
Yes.
about mental
Yes.
slavery.
Yes.
You were enslaved. Did you have to seek therapy? Because that's an adjustment. 8 years, and
Yeah.
now you're coming out into
Yeah.
freedom. How did you adjust to that?
So you know what? It was some trauma going on because when you're in prison, you're working for free, and it's it's dehumanizing when you're in that prison working for free. And they want you to iron their clothes or cut the grass, or I mean, you're in the chow hall feeding people. I mean, all these are jobs that or you're in there and you're doing stuff. I mean, you're making stuff for cars and stuff like that. I mean, so all this stuff is dehumanizing. And so for me, my my counseling came not so much when I was in prison because I did have it a little bit, but it came when I got home. And you said a key point: getting around people who are like-minded, who are some. So I had to. I mean, so when I came home, I praised God that I was around my family and friends who are sound-minded, who's in corporate America, who's doing big things, great things, who never been in trouble before, who's able to just to hone me down and say, "Hey, you home now." And do this here, do this here. I mean, I have friends calling me and say, "Hey man, where you at? I'm at the house. Hey man, I'm coming by." They'll come by, just sit there and just talk with me. So all these things was like therapy. And so again, I mean, it's so much that goes on in prison. And 8.5 years is a long time. I take
Mm,
I take it from nobody because some people might say, "Hey man, I've been in here 20 years. I had a son come home after doing 15 years." Any time away, if it's
yeah.
only a month, whatever, it still can mess with your mind. And so my mom told me something when I got home. She said, "Son, I don't want you to take this personal." I said, "Okay." And she goes, "Mom is happy that it was you that went to prison and not your brother Mark." I said, "Huh?" She said, "Because Mark couldn't have handled what
Mhm.
you went through." She said, "Mark wouldn't be here right now if he went to prison." And that was deep. And so I get a lot all the time that, you know, everybody has a different structure. Everybody. Everybody might go through the same thing in a different kind of way, and so I say I kept my peace because really God was with me, and I really had that strong connection with my family. I really had that strong connection with my mom. My mom was a key, opponent in this thing. I mean, she was like the person. You got a boxer in a boxing ring.
Right.
He's the one really going out there physically fighting. When he come back to his corner, he has his coach in his ear. Hey, move to the left. Hey, do this here. Do that. My mom was the my mom was the trainer in the corner. Son, don't forget to pray. Son, don't walk with them guys in there. Son, don't forget who you are. See what I'm saying? So all those things played a part.
You know, and so much can be said for a mama,
Hmm.
but a praying mama, a
Praying mom.
praying
Hmm.
grandmama,
Hmm.
yo, it's
Yeah.
like it's like they pick up the bat phone, like when the Commissioner Gordon would
Yeah.
call Batman and Batman pick up the phone. That's what it is when you have a praying mom and a praying
Yes.
grandmother, right?
Yes. Yes.
So one of the things I definitely want to ask you is, okay, you're in prison, you get out, you have your own form of trauma, right?
Okay. Hmm.
How how did you acclimate with, okay, I'm free now? Were you still in that space where I go to bed 8 o'clock, I get up at 3 o'clock? Like, did you have any like night terrors, so to speak? Because okay, your whole thing changed, your routine changed.
Hmm.
How was that? How did you deal with that?
So yeah. So when I got home, my body and mind adjustment wasn't aligned with being free. My my body was free, but my mind was still incarcerated. So I get home, I'm at my mom's house, and I wake up 2:30 in the morning to eat breakfast. So I'm getting up 2:30 in the morning eating cereal. Then I go back to sleep. Then I wake up again about 10 o'clock, eat lunch. And so after a while, your mind start relaxing and saying, okay, you're free now. You can start living like you're free. Because for a while, for 8.5 years, I've been waking up at those times, eating. And so your body, it's just like being on a diet. Your body adjusts to what I guess your body's trained to what you've been doing.
Right,
There we
right.
go. And so my body was trained to eat breakfast at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, eat lunch by 10 or 11 o'clock, eat dinner by 3:30, 4 o'clock, because the prison had to be shut down at a certain time. And so for me, again, my mind just had to relax some. And then again, it's all about your support system coming home, and then just living this thing called life. Even if you don't come home with support, right? What happens is that some guys have to go to halfway houses or, transitional homes.
Right.
Even when they go there, those homes still help them transition back into the community, and anytime anytime people get released from prison, they have to go through a program in prison, which is called pre-release. It's a course you take in there. It's classes you take in there before you come home. And so those also help you kind of transition
Transition.
a little bit back. Yeah, and stuff. But I really want to touch back, which I'm sure you're gonna bring up, about writing your plans. Um, so as I came home, things didn't take off right off top. But as I came home, I ended up losing a relationship because she wanted me to go back into the beauty and barbershop world, which wasn't a bad thing at all. It wasn't. But I wrote these plans down, and so I knew the way I wanted to go. And I had this play that I written, and I said, I want to bring this play out. And she's like, for what? I mean, I have money put up for you, beauty and barbershop, not for no play. And I said, well, this is what I want to do, and that caused a big argument and it caused a
Mhm.
breakup. And so I ended up packing my stuff, moving back in with my mom. Because because what happened, people come home from prison, some people think you're handicapped or you don't
Mhm.
have the common sense, or they like the control factor, right? And stuff. And so you really have to stick with your guns and keep walking with what you know what God told you to walk in. So we broke up probably around December, right, of 2016. Well, the play that I wanted to bring out was called Secret Marriage and Vows. And that play I ended up bringing out in June 2017. And my mom financed half that play. And that play sold out 4 different times, over 300 seats each theater. It sold out. And then the woman who didn't believe in me start calling me back because she thought
You
they
know I
wanted.
was gonna ask you. Come on now, let's come on now, because I ain't trying to get messy, but you know I was gonna ask you that because
Yeah,
he didn't believe in you,
yeah,
and now when you're being successful, deemed
mhm,
successful, because she wanted you in a position that she knew you was gonna make money right away, right?
yes, yes,
But
mhm,
sometimes we have to take the chance. We have to take a chance on the unseen. If God wants us to walk on the path that's less traveled, because
mhm,
again, when God tells us to do something and
mhm,
someone tells me, well, Jackie, I didn't know about it. It's not for you to know about it because it wasn't a conference call. It was
yeah,
a call just between me and God. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I knew she was going to come back, but okay, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yes. I mean, so she came back, and I just couldn't go back because you didn't believe in what I wanted to do. So I just, and then by this time, my life now is kind of taken off a little bit, and so I'm around different people who's of caliber, who got things going on, and then lead me different ways, and the more doors are opening up. So now I'm saying, hey, God, these plans that I've written down, I can start looking at them now. And then so, I had my vending machines written down. So now I got my vending machines, and I had the trucking business written down, and then, the trucking business took off. I ended up meeting a wonderful woman who I'm married to today. And, God has blessed our life tremendously. And so today I've been home going on 8 years now. And man, it's been a wonderful thing.
Praise God.
Yeah.
I'm always curious to talk to
Okay.
people who are released, because
Okay.
I know you go through this mental slavery, and
Hmm.
then you go through this persecution by other people
Yes.
who think that they can, judge you, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and I don't care what the crime is. I mean, no, let me step back. Of
Okay.
course, we have to understand what the crime is,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
But if it's something similar to that, because wrong is wrong, we get it. But as long as you're forgiven, we can't be judging people who've gone to jail, because again, we don't know the circumstances. And
Yeah.
yes, there's no excuse. But the thing is, what I like about your story is you took accountability. So many of our brothers find excuses, daddy and not the home, this, whatever, right?
Hmm.
Or the girl made me do it. They don't take accountability.
Hmm.
You are taking accountability. And then think about, here's the thing, you are separated from your kids. How did you have to mend fences with that? Were they coming to jail, to prison, to see you? How were those? Because as a child, I would be resentful as hell that my father is in. I don't care why he's there, but he's there. How
Hmm.
did you bring forth and get that back as whole?
So yeah, so my kids were coming to see me in prison. At least two of them was the two youngest ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, their mom made sure she
Good.
brought them to come see me when I was in prison. My oldest two, I didn't see one of them for 8.5 years, even though I may have talked to him from time to time on the phone. But my oldest son, he came there maybe twice, whatever. And so it was strenuous because you can't really be a father. Even though
Mhm.
I was trying to send money home from time to time for the kids for Christmas, stuff like that. I was trying, but sending money home is one thing, being there physically is another and stuff. And so when I got home, that's the first thing I wanted to do was get my kids. I think they probably came to the house maybe the second or third day, and I have a picture with them, us at home, all of us. And so I set them down and I let them know, yes, dad was gone 8.5 years for this. And I spoke to them very candidly about what I did and what I went through, right? And I said, but I want y'all to remember who I was before I went away. I said, now that I'm home, I said, dad is the billboard of anything you don't want to do. I'm the billboard. So before you think about something that's not right, be like, no, man, my dad went there, or no. So I had to mend my relationship with my kids. And it's funny because my two oldest ones, who are 21 and 25 right now, those were the hardest to mend
Mhm.
because maybe they was a little bit older when I went in, right?
And then there were teenagers, right? And
Yeah,
that's the formative years for them to have a father.
yeah,
And that, of course, that's when they go through that rebellious
yeah,
stage,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So I want to get to the part where
Mhm.
how did you, because so many of us are out there who write stuff and like, oh,
Mhm.
I want this, oh, I think I could produce this, I can get this done. How did you get from not just Prison Nights to Theater Lights, but
Mhm.
how did you get it like on Roku and all those other like, how did you, when I tell you God has been blessing you or whatever
Mhm.
platform, God has blessed you, how did you get it to the networks?
Well, so it's all about people who see things. And so you got people who see things, and God will open a door that man can't open.
Mm. Say
I
that,
can open.
sorry. Say that one more time. Say it loud and proud so they can hear you.
God can open doors that man cannot open.
Okay.
Period. So it's all about the favor. And so it was the favor of God. When people see things, hey, I want this on this network. Hey, I want that show on this network. Hey, I want you to write this script for this network. And so God opened all them doors for me. I didn't do anything because again, I just wrote the plan. And then I put the plan out there and made it reality. And then somebody else with favorable eyes saw the plan and said, "Hey, I want this plan. I want this what you're doing over here." And then it all goes back to as well to not forgetting where I came from, right? I knew I went to prison, and I knew the package that I created. I knew what God told me to do in my package, and so I made a promise to God. I said, God, if I make this parole and I get free, I'm going to reach back to help other families and mothers and sons who's in prison come home too. So in prison, I wrote down this thing called Just Free. I wrote down this thing called Just Free parole packages, not knowing that I'm gonna actually get home and actually do it, but I wrote it down. And so to this day, I'm also working with a lot of families right now, and I'm helping bring their loved ones home through my parole package service as well.
Let me tell you, let me give you your
Mhm.
props, okay? You are an amazing human being. And you're the epitome where we can't say, oh, one person, you go to prison, you're going to go back again. You're going to do the
Mhm.
whole bounce back. You didn't, you know? And when you said God opens doors that man can't,
Mhm.
I want to look into the camera and remind people I don't care how tough it is. I
Mhm.
don't care if you feel like you're the only one. I don't care if your baby daddy, your husband, your significant other walks out on you. As long as you have breath in your body,
Mhm.
there is hope. As long as you have life, there is hope. So I'm speaking to anyone out there that's watching this
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
feel hopeless, feel like there isn't anything. Look, I've been through it, okay?
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
through the fire, so I understand. You
Mhm.
feel like, I don't care if you're with a significant other. Sometimes you just feel alone when you're trying to do something, or God has called you to do something, and no one can travel down that road but you. So
Mhm.
you have to remember, as long as you got life and breath in your body, you can do it. I don't care if the light's about to be cut off. I don't care if you have your last tank of gas. I don't care if the boss just told you you did a phenomenal job, they stole your idea, then you get
Mhm.
fired, or your debit card or credit card don't work. Always have faith. Write down. This is
Mhm.
the time. See, what people don't realize, when we had the virus that went around,
Mhm.
that was the time for people to sit down, because it was
Yeah.
basically the universe was telling you to be quiet. Yes, I understand people were unaliving, but you have to actually sit down and make that plan.
That's right.
Because if you think about it, Dominique, what happened in the world, oh, you couldn't go to the store, you couldn't do all of this, but you made it happen. You wasn't getting your hair done, you wasn't getting your nails done, you made it happen.
Mhm.
So now is the time for people to slow down,
Yeah.
because everything is expensive, everything's going on. Now is the time for you to evaluate the circle in your life, because sometimes y'all ain't going nowhere because you got dead weight, and
Mhm.
that includes your family. And I
Mhm.
wrote a post about, it's okay to cancel your family member,
Yeah.
because if they're not doing what you need them to do, if they're not being supportive, what is the purpose? And then they have this thing about, well, I need people to see what I'm doing. No, if I'm not liking you and I know you're not sending me positive energy, I'm deleting and blocking you. You don't need to know what I'm doing on social media. I don't need you in the room where I am. I need you. People talk about, well, they don't need to be in the front row, they need to be in the back row. Heck no, they need to
Mhm.
be in another room.
Mhm. Mhm.
You don't need to be in the energy where I am. So I want to, because I'm hearing a lot of, when you watch social media, and I think you've seen it too, it's a
Mhm.
lot of negativity many going on. So many people feel hopeless. Now you have the writer's strike and all of this stuff. So many people just feel like, dang, when am I going to get a break?
Yeah.
Now, your mother said something to you, and I want to address this.
Okay.
So many people rely on the strong people.
Mhm.
People forget the strong people need strength,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because obviously you're the strong one in the family.
Mhm.
What the heck do you do? Do you get tired of it? Because look, I know my shoulders are broken sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
tired of being
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you do in order to self-reflect or self-nourish or self-care for yourself? Because you're carrying the weight for everybody because you're
Yeah.
the strong one. So
Yeah.
what do you do for yourself as a man and as a Black man for
Mhm.
self-care for yourself?
Okay. That's very easy because there are a lot of days to where, everybody have cell phones, right? I'm the family member and I'm the friend who's always sending out the motivational messages every single day. And sometimes I just want my phone to ring and look at, oh, hey, Dominic, have a great day. Hey, be blessed today. And so I do have certain people in my life who sends that to me. But the most important thing I do when I need to detox, and it's gonna sound crazy, but it's true. I go get a manicure and a pedicure. That's my me time. I like to go sit somewhere at a restaurant. I like sitting at the bar because that's like man time, and I got the sports TV in front of me up there,
Mhm,
and I can eat my guacamole and chips and stuff. It's like I know how to detox myself from the world. That's my
mhm,
time out. I
mhm,
mean that's my time out. There are days I could just sit at home, right? I go back on my patio, and it's my quiet time. My wife would be inside watching the movie, but I just want to go on the patio and just chill, put me some music on, and it's because I have an old soul as well. So I have my own different ways of detoxing. In my barbershop, right? I can have a slow day in my barbershop. I will sit there in my barbershop with my chair is facing. I can see all downtown Houston. I'll just sit in my chair. I just have a moment with me and God. Just sit there quietly, just thinking about everything that God has done for me. So I think for me, calling my own personal timeouts the way I do, everybody's gonna have the different ways of doing it. I mean, some might get in their car and just ride around. But again, when you're the strong one, you have to find that space to say, this is my time. And that time can be eating some ice cream, whatever it
mhm.
is. See what I'm saying? Because, it's not always about, going to therapy or going to counseling. Sometimes it's just about finding your space in your house, in your room, at your job, in your car, away from the kids, away from your husband, away from your wife, and just say, hey, I need my own personal time right now. And so that's how I get my detox. Not all the time do I have to have, mama calling me. Because
Right.
mama called me a lot, child, and she'll call me to this day. Son, I said, Mama, I know. Son, Mama, I know. You know what I'm saying, Mama? But sometimes it's not about that. Sometimes it's just about me. So I have my ways of calling my own personal timeouts. And as my wife would say, her words would be like, I like shopping. Sometimes, hey, that's my therapy, you know.
It is, and that's why it's important for me to ask, the gentleman that I'm having conversations with, what are you doing for yourself,
Yeah.
self-care? Because
Yeah.
now it's a big push to remind young
Mhm.
all women, period, about self-care. But we also have to ask our men, because like for me, I like going by the lake. For me, when you
Mm.
said something that's crazy, no, here's mine. One of my favorite place is the library,
Mm.
because I'm always talking in the library that you're not supposed to be talking. So I
Yeah.
like going to the library. I'll have 15 books on the table. I'll read them, look at them, whatever.
Mhm.
I need to go places where you can't talk, or
Yeah.
in somewhere in a church or a worship
Mhm.
center where you can't talk. You just or meditate, because my
Yeah.
mind's always racing. So I like places like that, places where I can't talk, by the lake where it's tranquil. So I want to remind everyone, please make sure you find time for self-care.
Yeah.
It is so important. It's so important to your mental health. Yeah, we can exercise, we can do all of that for physical, but we
Mhm.
also need to do the exercise for our mental, right?
Mhm.
So how can they do you have any books? What do you have going on? Come on, let's market whatever you got going
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I mean, so what I have going right now, I told you earlier, I work with families who have individuals incarcerated. And my program is called Just Free Parole Package Services, where we create parole packages for the individual incarcerated, and we get it to the parole board. And they can find that at jusfree.com. jusfree.com. All my information is there. I know on October 1st, I'm having my first ever Fresh Out series coming out. And Fresh Out is about individuals coming home from prison and the real story around what happened and the individuals they may have hurt, whether it was their baby mama, their mom, their brothers, or dad, hear them speak. Because see, when
Right.
people get incarcerated, you never hear the individuals who was in it with them speak and stuff. So I have Fresh Out, which is going to be exclusively on IG, on my page. As a subscriber, that you said, you got to subscribe, and they'll be able to get the exclusive content of this Fresh Out series. And then we got some things coming up next year. A lot coming up next year. We got testimony coming up next year. I'm gonna be doing a traveling comedy show, which is called Not Funny but Not So Funny, right? And that's gonna be where I'm gonna have a comedian open up. He have his time, and then I come in, not so funny, and give my testimony. Of the real story of what I went through in my life and stuff. So it kind of gives the audience, the best of both worlds. And then my plays will come back out again next year. I'm bringing back out Secret Marriage and Vows next year as well.
Are you bringing it? Atlanta's the place to be. You bringing anything to Atlanta?
Yes. So we're gonna do a down south travel with everything.
Okay, because
Yeah.
you in Texas, so you got to let me know so
Yeah,
I can tell people and stuff. But
yeah. And when I
I
come
want
to
to.
Atlanta, I'll let you know.
I love what you're doing and I commend you.
Thank
And I
you.
want to thank you for just having conversations with me because
Yeah.
again, right now, I'm so sick of seeing negativity
Mhm.
that I figured in my corner of the world, let me see if I can inspire some hope into people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's
Yeah.
what we need right now because people are just dropping like flies. Teenagers are dropping like flies. So many things are happening. People are getting diagnosed for God knows what. We need to see happy. I've never seen, yesterday you mentioned something. I was in Walmart and I was
Mhm.
looking at majority of the people in Walmart and everyone looked sad.
Mm.
Everyone looks sad. I'm looking at they're
Mm.
walking with their shoulders down and it's like bad enough food prices have gone up,
Mhm.
but it's like what next? It's almost like it's not even like it's like they're waiting for the other shoe to drop, right?
Mhm.
And this
Mhm.
is why I'm glad I'm doing what I'm doing because I don't know what, God ordained this to me, so this is
Mhm.
what I'm doing. So we want to thank, Mr. Dominique Leonard for being on the
Thank you.
show.
Thank you.
You are
Thank you.
just an amazing person. We're here to
Thank
support
you.
whatever you're doing. Please, y'all, please reach out to him and he's on IG as well. So we want to thank those for watching. Again, if you want to join our tribe, you must subscribe. Y'all know I be bringing it with these conversations. So if you
Yeah.
want more, I need you to go down, not just subscribe, but make sure you hit the notification bell and make sure that you do all. Because if you don't do
Yeah.
all, it's going to pick and choose which one you watch. You need to see all of them because I be bringing it. Okay. So, and for those, please, visit our website. It's Jacqueline Charles, www.JacquelineCharles.com. If you want to know more about me and my story,
Yeah.
we do moderations. I'm a life coach. I talk about relationships. I'm married 34 years. I'm plant-based living,
Man.
advocate.
Man.
I teach that and things like that. So it's, again, I'm considered, it says media harmonizer. I'm really a happiness coach. Okay. I'm
Mhm.
all about the positive polys. I cancel the negative Nellies. I can't deal with negative Nellies. So without further ado, we want to thank everyone for just tuning in, supporting what we're doing, and supporting Mr. Dominique.
Thank you.